The Music is Life podcast has our own merch now over on tpublic.com. Click the link below in the video description. Looking for some new threads? We got t-shirts, long sleeves, hoodies, crew neck sweatshirts, tank tops, baseball tees, and also clothes for kids and onesies for your little infant metalheads. Don't want clothes but love the Java? We got you covered with coffee mugs and travel mugs. Need protection for your electronics? We've also got phone and laptop cases. We've got everything you're looking for at the tpublic.com Music is Life podcast store. Use my link below for fast service. Thanks for your support. TerraNut is proud to offer you a natural nut bar chock full of healthy fats, minerals, and protein that meet your demands. Go to their website, www.terranut.com. You can order from them directly and they will ship it to you. Use my coupon code LOUMAVS and you will get a 25% discount on your first order. TerraNut Superfood Snacks, www.terranut.com. Don't forget to use coupon code LOUMAVS at checkout. Fuel your life.
Ladies and gentlemen, how do?
We are ready and waiting for you now. If it's a fight that you dare see, we've acquired our strength through pain. No more are we pathetic again. You are the reason why we claim that we've all become this way. And I regret this prison that I've created for myself. Who can it be? Who makes us cry? Won't save us from ourselves? I close my eyes and then I pray that revenge can be as sweet as it sounds. We are the rebels that fall from your hate as you plan. Someone to fight with you, to argue to, or make the law, yeah. My heart still beats, my eyes still cry, and I can't forgive you for this. I'm big. Ah!
Music is Life podcast. This is your host, Lou Mavs. Check out everything you need to know about the show over at my link tree, Music is Life podcast. I'm really happy today because, well, for one thing, I'm back, bitches.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
But I'm here today to talk to a very good friend of mine who I go way back with him 10 plus years. He was the bassist in one of the tri-state area's biggest Kiss tribute bands called Kiss Nation, and also the bassist in the non-makeup Kiss tribute Unmasked. We became friends while he was a member of Bottoms Up, one of the best Van Halen tributes I ever had the pleasure of seeing and performing on a bill with. And I got to play my favorite Van Halen song with him on bass guitar, On Fire. So I never forgot that.
I remember that.
You hit those high notes beautifully, my friend.
I remember watching you playing. Go, oh, this boy can play.
Thank you. Currently, he's performing in The History of Rock and Roll, a costume-themed tribute to the music of the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and also Coverland, with a great friend of mine, Konstantin Notaridis, a fellow Greek.
There you go.
And they're tearing up the tri-state area, playing weddings and banquet halls. Links will be in the description below for all those bands. And he's also currently the lead of a rock and roll news aggregate website called History of Rock Report. And we're here today to talk about all of his musical endeavors and this new venture he's pursuing. I'm very proud to have on the Music is Life podcast my good friend, Mr. John Pinna. John, welcome aboard.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I haven't seen you in a while because you've been so damn busy with everything.
Yes, really busy. I'm recording with my friend Pete. I don't know if you remember Pete Pizzo, the drummer.
Oh, yeah. I was
Van
just
Halen.
at his studio right before the pandemic started. I was helping the Rush tribute band that I was fired from, Six and Arrows. I'm friends with Greg Hawk. Big shout out to Greg. No bad blood, obviously. I was trying to help him with not production because, PJ's a great producer. I guess just helping Greg with some of the crazy MIDI stuff because I had experience with it. But I'm like, dude, at this point, you've been doing it longer. You should know more than I do. But either way, much love to Greg and Sam. Hope they're doing good. I know they have a new Rush tribute band called YY3 that they're trying to get off the ground. So we miss you guys. Get out there.
Yes.
PJ, yeah, it's always good to see him.
I got to plug him. His recording studio is phenomenal. It's gotten even better, and he does video too. So actually, if you look at the latest greatest Coverland video is actually all shot at his place. It was actually really pretty cool.
Oh, very cool. And that's in Farmingdale, correct?
Yep, in Farmingdale. He calls it Crescent Studios. So I'm going to charge him for that plug now.
Pay up, PJ. Pay up. Well, listen, my friend, we got some time and there's a bunch of questions I want to ask you. How far back does it go with you when it comes to your love for music, the wanting to pick up an instrument and learn it and master it? Because you've been on stage in so many different bands. I know I only named a few, but that's only since as far back as I've known you, which is just about 10, 13 years. But I'm sure you have a history with being on stage that goes back a lot further. And you've seen more great live bands perform. You've been a part of the scene on Long Island and elsewhere. So I just want to ask, like, for you, where did the love of music come from?
Well, I mean, I didn't grow up in a musical household where no one in my family actually played music. But my mom was a great lover of listening to music, and they are two different things. But so my mom always had music playing on in the house. Especially my parents used to clean up the house. They had this old stereo system they would crank. It always make this horrendous cracking noise when they turned the speakers on. It was one of those old furniture style. They would blast music, and pretty much everything from Elvis Presley to whatever the popular music of the day to. I don't know if you're old enough to remember WRFM, beautiful music. My parents used to play that all the time. So I always grew up around.
Sounds like the Jackie Gleason station or something.
It could have been. I just know WRFM, beautiful.
A little night music.
It's exactly what it was. And my dad was like, "Oh, this sounds phenomenal. You hear that?" I'm like, "Yeah, whatever, Dad." But I mean, as far as what got the music bug to me, I probably a lot of kids my age, people my age, people my age would be, the rock band Kiss, of course. I can remember seeing them on the Paul Lynde Halloween show, and it's like 1976. And to be honest, I really didn't like it because, you remember the TVs back then, this horrendous little speaker. You really didn't get a good sense of the song.
You had to move the antenna around just to get a clear picture. Oh, I remember those days.
Yeah, we didn't have, my dad didn't believe in cable. We didn't get cable until I was in into my teens, so it was pretty hysterical. But so you really didn't get a good sense of it. But literally, we were on a family vacation down in Washington, D.C., walked into a Pizza Hut, never forget this, and I heard Calling Dr. Love playing. And I turned to my brother going, "That is a great song." And he went off to the jukebox. We sat down. Haley comes up and goes, "That's Kiss." I'm like, "Really?" I was just shocked. And then, from then on, that was it. Became a Kiss fan. And that started my love affair of music. And, it grew from Kiss to Queen to, to all the 80s hard rock. I was definitely an 80s metalhead. How could you not be?
Same here, no shame in it.
No. Although to be an 80s, again, depend on your high school. Some high schools, it was cool to be a metalhead. The high school I went to, Burner High School, when it used to be a high school, it was, it was considered, you're one of those guys. So
no, when I was in high school, Pearl Jam and Green Day were all the rage. So yeah, I got made fun of for it. But
the new bands.
But I said, you know what? My Iron Maiden shirt looks cooler than your Offspring's shirt. So
there you go. There you go. So, it started from that. And then, I think someone had invited me to a party many years ago. They actually had a quote unquote band playing there, which were like two guys. One guy played drums, one guy played guitar. And I remember he let me pluck the top E string on his guitar. And I was like, oh, wow. I was just, mesmerized by just the power of just that one single note. And because I used to play trumpet like you, for some reason, I couldn't envision chords for some reason. It was beyond me. Now, if you see me play the bass, I'm playing chords all over the place, and it's pretty hysterical. But at that point, I couldn't comprehend chords for some reason. And then so I kind of gravitated towards the bass because it was usually single note.
Right.
And a band, like most people become bass players. That it's not usually you're initially by choice. But there's one band in high school is actually called Blind Ambition, and they could never get a steady bass player. So I said, well, that's how I'm going to become a bass player, so I could be the bass player in this band. And that's how it started. And I got into the band, and God, yeah, I will tell you, I always tell people that if you really love music, and you'll work at it, you'll get results. Because I can tell you, my friend, If anybody had no natural talent, had to work for every inch that he got, it would be me.
See, and I find that hard to believe because, listen, when we first met, you were in Bottoms Up, and everybody wants to say, "Oh, you're playing Michael Anthony's bass lines." Okay, I'm like, first of all, yes, Michael Anthony's bass lines were important to Van Halen's music because it allowed Eddie to not go off as a soloist, but playing the rhythms, and on top of that, he was always hitting like those high notes in the background vocals, and you nailed them both. That's not easy.
No, I would say listen to Somebody Get Me a Doctor. Listen to how the bass moves. Yeah, maybe he's not doing hammer-ons and all that fancy stuff. And listen, I'm a huge Billy Sheehan fan. I love Billy Sheehan.
Oh, yeah, I know you have a Billy Sheehan Yamaha. I love that bass.
I just used it last night, actually. But, I could never play like that, which is probably a good thing in the long run.
But not that many people can. Don't even worry about that.
But, yeah, I would say, yeah, he's a great bass player. He's lighter, tasty. I mean, this may get me in trouble with some Van Halen fans, and I have nothing but respect for Wolfgang. I think he's a phenomenal guitar player. But I remember hearing some of the live recordings of Van Halen with him on the bass, and, yeah, he's hitting the runs, and it just didn't groove. I'm like, it doesn't have that Michael Anthony groove. It's missing it. That's just my opinion.
No, and that's fine. I mean, for me, I guess I just try to strike it as they're just two different players, and I think for what he contributed when he was playing with his dad and uncle, I'm more than happy with it. But
it was fine.
Of course, like. You watch that video footage from Oakland Coliseum in '81 when they're playing,
yes.
The 3 live tracks, and just how on fire, no pun intended, they were.
I missed it. I should have. I was this close to going to the 1984 show, but ended up not going. I so regret. I should have seen that. Although I heard if you go see it, though, we played like 8 songs because it was all they had to doing 20-minute solos and stuff.
That's not true. I went on setlist.fm and it actually has like 20 songs that they played.
I stand corrected then. I never checked that out. But yeah.
Eddie Trunk, you're a liar. Fuck you, Malacca!
I did see the first David Lee Roth tour. Eat 'em and Smile, and that was freaking amazing.
That is cool.
Yeah, that was probably one of the, when I was younger, I would say it was one of the best shows I had ever seen. I'm like, oh my God, that was really good. But yes, I mean, getting back to your question, that's how it started with me, playing the bass, and just kind of worked my way. You're very kind to say that I definitely had some talent, but I'm telling you, I really had to work at it. I remember I tried to teach myself, and then finally I broke down and went from lessons. And the first thing the guy said, "Who taught you how to hold the bass?" And I'm like, "Oh, nobody. I just kind of figured it out." He goes like, "You're doing it all wrong." He goes, "You're fighting yourself." And he showed me how to hold it. I'm like, "Oh, okay." But I mean, literally, I've taken maybe 5 lessons, and then the rest is just self exploration. And sometimes I think struggling to learn it is a lot better than taking someone showing it to you, because you appreciate it so much. And I have many examples of my playing that I could say, oh my God, I made huge leaps, and it was like I figured this out. Oh my God. And I told other people like, it's kind of common sense, but whatever, I just figured it out. And I was so happy. I'm like, oh my God, this works for me now. This is great. This is amazing. I figured this out. And it really means something to you because you had to work really hard for it.
I concur with that. I was taught trumpet, and I learned about the basics of music, learn how to read music from that. But the reason why I picked up the trumpet, because this was my dad's bright idea. He was like, if you really want to play guitar, show me by learning another instrument first. I dedicated 6 months to trumpet, got pretty good at it. I was like 3rd trumpet in the church band. And all of a sudden for Christmas, I get an acoustic guitar and a Mel Bay book. But then I'm thinking, I thought he was going to get me guitar lessons. Well, no, he didn't. So here I am studying this Mel Bay book. All of a sudden I heard Black Sabbath's Paranoid, and I'm like, oh, I could play this, and all of a sudden, I started learning by ear. And that's how it kind of blew up. And I know there's technicians out there that look at me, they're like, you're doing it wrong. And I'm like, yeah, but it sounds right to me. I mean, I haven't heard any complaints. And if you're going to be all nitpicky about it, there's the door, get out. So there's nothing wrong with learning as you're going along and just finding your appreciation for the instrument. I think that's fine. If you want to be a technician, that's just as fine too. What were some of the venues that you played back in the day? Because I know Long Island, Queens, you had a lot of venues. You had Lemoore East in on I think it was on Queens Boulevard, and then there was Lemoore Far East on Long Island. There was Sundance out in Bayshore. Did you ever get to play it, Lemoore in Brooklyn as well? Did you ever get to play any of these venues?
No, Lemoore. I definitely played Sundance a couple times. I forget the. Yeah, God, it was a while ago. I'm trying to remember the other one. No, I think Sundance is really the only of all those music venues that I played. You know, my band when I grew up when I was a kid, it wasn't that good of a band, and we were kind of a cross between doing original. We would do originals, but we'd also do covers. You know, so it was kind of like a hodgepodge. But you know, we played a lot of church bazaars and things like that. The Battle of the Bands were big when I was a kid. I think when we finally got to the age where we would, start playing those places, at that point I went upstate to college for 4 years. So a lot of my experience had to be like with frat houses and things like that, which is quite an experience.
The New York equivalent to a Van Halen backyard party, the frat house.
Absolutely, yeah.
Nice.
Toga! 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 Toga!
Yeah, I went to school in Cornell, Ithaca, and there's tons of frat houses, and they would just, oh my God, those parties were insane. I always love when this drunk person that comes up to you, a girl comes like, how come you only have 4 strings and he has 6? Are you not as good as him? Is that why?
Oh, dear Lord.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
That's an actual quote.
And I bet you she was elected to Congress 25 years later. Anyway, who said that?
That's our current
Scratch that from the record. That's as political as we get.
Scratch that one out.
When did you start partaking in musical acts that were more along the lines of cover and tribute? Like, did you always do that from the beginning, or did you try to do anything original at one point as well?
Yeah, so when I was at college, I was basically doing the cover thing. There was really no. Well, I mean, it probably was. I always had my head up my ass sometimes, but I did mainly the cover thing because that's what the frat houses would. I had like 2 years or so. I did nothing but frat houses. You making. At that point, you make a couple $100. You're like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing ever. I made $50 playing a gig, and you're just thrilled to death.
We got beer money.
Yeah. So I did that. And I came back, then I started pursuing the original thing. Unfortunately, the original thing never really got out of the basement. We played a couple gigs I think 1 or 2 gigs at a couple bars. It was a place in Oceanside, a little small place. Can't remember the name, but off the top of my head, I have it written down somewhere. I could look it up, but I don't remember. I'm like a fanatic. I write everything down. Every gig I have, everything is recorded. I'm a little wacky that way. So I was doing the original thing. Then I got married, and I literally took about 6-7 years off from playing. I had just stopped playing. I was a new father. It was kind of new. And it was actually, my wife told me, she said, why'd you stop playing? You love playing. You could tell you enjoyed it so much. Why'd you ever stop? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just so busy with this. I just figured I don't have time. And then I went to a KISS convention of all things. And I saw a ZO. Remember the band ZO2?
Yes, I do. And I remember, I think it was David, who was a member of Adrenaline Mob, and he unfortunately lost his life. But I do know his brother's still pursuing music, so God bless him. Wish him all the best.
I saw them at a KISS convention, and that just inspired me to go back and start doing it again. And then, as a little bit older, I was probably in my early 30s at that point, a little bit older and maybe a little bit wiser, I actually figured out how to practice a little bit better, and so just started working at it hard again. And then I saw the ad for the Van Halen band, and that's how I they're in Farmingdale. Huh? This is great. At the same time, I was also trying to get into a cover band too. A fairly decent, a band called Overdrive. Which led to my other bands, but I hooked up with the guys in the Van Halen tribute, the Bottoms Up guys, great guys. I mean, I was extremely fortunate to meet Pete, who's the the recording guy we talked about before, as well as Jake. Miller, the guitar player. Well, I think you saw me with the Van Halen band when we had Eric. Eric Maestri he became David Lee Roth.
Yes, it's funny. He brought his own flair impersonating David Lee Roth, and it was always great seeing the four of you guys on stage. I mean, I just every time my wife and our family and I would come see you guys, it was like, wow, who needs to see Van Halen when you got the next best thing right in our backyard?
I appreciate that. I love those guys. That still to this day, I would say, is one of my favorite bands that I've ever been in. I mean, first of all, they were just great guys. And I could just remember I remember when Jake and myself and Pete were first just getting together, and I would go there, I think once a week, I think every Tuesday, whatever day it was. And we would just sit and play for like 2 or 3 hours, just straight going through the material, trying to learn it. And it was just like, absolute bliss being, first of all, getting to play early Van Halen, like you mentioned before. I have no problem with the Sammy era. I'm just more emotionally attached to the David Lee Roth era. To me, that's Van Halen. I mean, I loved Van Halen. How could you not love Van Halen 1? But I also am a big fan of Van Halen 2. I think it's a great album.
Perfect back-to-back albums, but my favorite album of all time is Fair Warning.
That's the one. I love that one too.
See, everyone loves that, and it's the lowest selling of the David Lee Roth era, which I find hilarious.
I really like all the Dave. I have to say, I'm not a big fan of the Women and Children first. That one doesn't resonate with me, but every other album really resonates with me.
Diver Down more than Women and Children first?
Yeah, I like. There's a couple great parts. I mean, Secrets is a great song.
Secrets, Hang 'Em High, and I remember that. When we played the 10th anniversary of Bottoms Up at Evenflow in Bayshore, we teased everyone with a 30-second snippet of Hang 'Em High, and people were like, wait a minute, what are they playing? And then we went right into Analog Kid, and they're like, oh, okay, that was good, you guys. That was good.
You're very good, you.
Also, the Van Halen band was a great band. I was really honored to be a part of that. Then I from there, at the same time, I was actually starting to work trying to put a cover band together to learn what's called like the top 40 circuit in Long Island. And I had a few tries at a couple of bands, again, finding the right people to get the band with. But the next band about, it was the Kiss Nation.
So Kiss Nation was after Bottoms Up then? Yeah,
I mean, I was kind of doing the two at the same time at one point. And at one point, I just couldn't, it was just too many bands. It was like, Kiss, I wanted to just give the Kiss thing a real shot. So I kind of retired from the Bottoms Up to work on the Kiss Nation. Plus, I was also putting the cover band together, too. I was really working hard on that. And that eventually became a band called Alice in Coverland.
I remember that.
I was fortunate there, too, because Khan, who and Terry, who was our original singer in Alice in Coverland, they were from that band Overdrive, which I had auditioned for. I think we played 4 songs, and then that was the end of that band. And but I was fortunate those two, I was a complete really unknown to the circuit, and they, we worked together and we were able to create Alice in Coverland. And then became, I would say, a decently successful band. So I was kind of working those two, and then I went, with the Kiss band was cool. I just never really could get that makeup and the costume. And the makeup, I kind of got a handle on. I'm just not an artist. And I kind of got the makeup down. Could never get that whole costuming thing down. That stuff would just move on me all the time. I mean, I give those guys credit. I mean, they are 70, Paul 70, I think, 70, 71, and Gene is 72, 73, and they're still doing it. That's amazing. That is very physically hard.
And Gene still has his voice.
Yes.
Which is crazy. Like, he could still sing his songs. I know that there's the discussion amongst people on the message boards, how they're using backing tracks. But I mean, at this point, every band is using backing tracks. Yes. All right. It's kind of a known fact. It's like, all right, you know what? This is kind of the new norm when it comes to playing arena or stadium shows, or even like club shows. For me as a musician, when you can hear everything better in your ears to help you play the song better, I don't think there's any shame in using backing tracks, because you're still playing your instrument. It's not like you're miming playing.
Yes. You're not doing, I totally agree. You're not Milli Vanilling it, right? You're actually playing. I mean, I know there was a big thing about Motley Crue recently, and there's a YouTube video we can actually watch to see what the tracks actually entail. And basically, it's a glorified click. Majority of it is a glorified click track that so they can trigger all the the fireworks and the video. So Tommy Lee's playing to a click, which is synchronized to the song. The song is synchronized to the lights and the video and that kind of stuff. And I think there is some guitar tracks here and there as well, but they're still playing. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem when you're replacing musicianship. And I would say from a drummer standpoint, I think being able to play to a click and making it seem like you're not mechanical is a real art. And that's one thing the drummer in Coverland does. Because we played it, we have certain songs we have tracks on because we don't carry a keyboard player. We do jump, and we're not going to hire a keyboard player to play a handful of songs. So
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll take a live band any day, but I also don't want a live band to sound like utter crap when they're on stage. And like you said, if you don't hire the services of a keyboard player because you only need keyboards on 2 or 3 songs, there's no harm in it.
I know I got a debate on someone on Facebook, and they're like, just hire a keyboard player. I'm like, for 3 songs? Really, am I really going to be able to get a keyboard player to bring all this stuff down, to come on down? I just did a gig on Saturday in Bayshore at a banquet hall. And we got there, it was on the 2nd floor, there's no elevator. So you got to carry everything up the stairs. That does not get any easier as you get older. You think your keyboard player is going to come in and play a handful of songs for like $50? I don't think so. That ain't going to happen.
Let me ask you this though. What live equipment do you use? Because I'm on a level with you right now. When it comes to performing, when I use an amplifier, I use this, which is a preamp that I put on my pedal board. So I guess you could call it like an amp in a box. Just because it's more convenient to bring with you on your pedal board. You're not carrying a ton of stuff everywhere. It's compact, and you just plug to front of house and you're good to go. But do you still use like cabinets and full heads, or do you use combos? Do you use a fly rig? Like what are some of the stuff you use?
Well, I actually use the Ampeg Rocket Bass. I actually do the sound for the band too. So it's kind of a mixture between, you have your mains and you got your subs and stuff up front. And then I kind of mix that with the amps. I think it just gives the band a more powerful sound to it, because you gotta mix between, you're standing in front of the house and you're kind of mixing between what is coming out of the amplifiers versus what's coming out of the PA speakers. We also used floor monitors too, but we also use inner ears too. So we kind of a mixture of everything. And I have my pedal board too. I have a tuner, of course, like everybody's got to have one of those. But I got that Billy Sheehan distortion pedal. I got chorus. I got the octave box, and for the Sheehan bass, I use the Empress compressor. It's actually a pretty good compressor. Makes it sound really good. My other basses, I use the Diamond series. Who's
Schecter.
Schecter. I actually like their basses a lot. I think they sound great. They got a nice tone to them, and you get that bottom end, but you also get that punch. Because when you do top 40, sometimes you do that little slap on there that I do. I'm not a great slap player, but I kind of accent my finger style playing with slap here and there. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's an overly complex setup, but I'm still using, to answer your question, I'm still using amps and stuff. I know we've talked about maybe just going with how you're doing it, but we haven't gotten there yet.
No, to each their own. I just know for me, it's like, from my experience, you'd bring a combo amp and you'd put a microphone in there. You try to plug into the PA, but then you always end up getting drowned out by the drummer. In my case, that's what happened. I just try to think of something that's just more convenient. Like I said, everyone's got their sound, everyone's got their tone, and just let them do what they got to do. But to the drummers of the world, let the people hear the other guys too, please. It's not all about you. Unless you have soundproof glass, just stop. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, hard rock drummers, or metal drummers, they tend to hit very hard. Anyway, it depends on the kind of music you're playing. I mean, my take on drums is, depending on what the audience that you're playing for, you have to be able to adapt. And if the only thing you can do is hit the drums super, super hard all the time, that's not always the greatest thing.
It's not. And you know what? I can't believe I'm going to say this, but at this age, I appreciate drummers like Phil Rudd of AC/DC or even Charlie Watts of the Rolling Stones for being just great backbeat players and just steady hand, never slowing or speeding up the tempo.
Yeah.
I appreciate them a lot more now than I did then because I would just look at them and go, they're not Neil Peart. And, Neil is still my favorite drummer to this day. But, as you get older, you look back and you realize, wow, I said some stupid things because, you learn to really appreciate what they do as musicians and how important they are to their bands.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a function of the type of music that's playing. Like Rush, obviously you need a drummer like Neil, to kind of to flavor it up. He only had 3 guys, for crying out loud, and the kind of music his playing obviously is perfect for that. I don't think that would work too well with AC/DC because it's more based on these basic guitar riffs, and the busier you made it, it would take away from the feel. It's all about feel. Rush has a feel. YYZ it has a certain kind of feel to it. Back in Black has a certain kind of feel to it. It's what whatever kind of music you're playing, however you're trying to quote unquote communicate, and it doesn't work, or people nodding their heads, dancing, or whatever. When I do top 40, are people dancing? Are they up there swaying around to the music? Okay, yeah, all right. Well, we're doing the right thing. When you're playing the hard rock, people up there with their fists and they're getting into it, they're singing along. All right, you're doing something right. That's basically how you have to gauge it, really.
Coverland has been around more than 5 years at this point.
I think we're in our 6th year. We did I think Alice and Coverland was around for almost 6-7 years. Mm-hmm. And Alice decided to retire, and then I just shortened it just to Coverland. Yeah, so it's been going great. It's just been getting better and better every year. So much that we don't really play the clubs as much. We play a lot of the summer spots, but we're God bless it. We're just getting lots of private parties, and now we're graduating up to weddings and corporate events. So thank God, it's doing something right. Thank God.
And History of Rock and Roll does a great job doing the 50s, 60s, 70s revival.
We just played the Vanderbilt Planetarium Theater. It's like the Reichert Theater now they call it, but it's the Vanderbilt Planetarium. They bring bands in, and we did our set to a laser light show. It was really cool.
That's insane.
And we just did it last night. Actually, it was sold out. It was great. I just showed up like, hey, how did the ticket sales go? Because I go, you're sold out. I'm like, all right. Yeah, so it was awesome. We had a great time.
That's always like a pride and joy of a musician to hear that the venue sold out. I'm still waiting to hear that one day.
Good feeling, and it's really cool because what they'll do is, if you ever see the History of Rock and Roll, we actually it's the full show that we do. It's a combination of music, obviously. We wear the outfits. It also has not interactive, but it has video too. So before we come on, there's a 50s video that plays before it, kind of introducing all the artists. And you get to see the cars, the fashions, and that. When we come out, we're all dressed up. We kind of play the music. It's a lot of fun. But when we did it in the theater show, especially in the Vanderbilt, they had this all these pictures and video going on as you're playing the song up above you. It was a wild experience. So I'm sure we'll be back. We just did it this year. I'm sure we'll be back maybe next year. I'll definitely catch it. It's great. It was really
very cool. I'd definitely love to come bring the family down to check it out. One question I got to ask, and this is something that I faced being in a cover band,
sure,
is that sometimes you get some obnoxious people in the audience, not all of you, some of you, who feel the necessity to come up to a band while they're playing and they expect you to listen to them and have them yell requests out at you. Have you ever faced that problem?
Yeah, you always get, it depends. Usually they're in between sets. I always love the people that want to talk to me right in the middle of the show. They ask for a song, and I'm like, please, I'm right in the middle of playing. You're trying to play, you're trying to sing at the same time, and they're trying to get your attention to talk to you. Doesn't happen that much. Usually for me, it's usually in between sets. They'll come up, they'll talk to you. You can play this song,
Well, at least they'll wait until it's between sets. That's nice. I should have had something on the back of my guitar that says, we don't do requests, and just go back to play. I feel like I should have just done that back in the day, but I didn't think about it. Oh, well, hindsight, right?
It really depends on what they're asking for. I know when we do the cover thing, sometimes people come up, if they ask for something that's so left field, you really can't do that. But if they come up, it's like, can you play Queen? you know, you can always, pull out a crazy little thing called Love in 2 seconds, just rip through that really quick. And, and if we're feeling adventurous, we'll do Fat Bottom Girls, that kind of stuff. So it's pretty cool.
I love that song.
If you can accommodate it, sometimes it's cool. It just depends on what the request is and does it make sense. Sometimes you get the club owners are coming in and they want to dictate your set list to you.
What?
That's happened to you?
Yeah, I won't name the place, but yeah,
we don't have to. But
he was a newer owner. Comes up to me and he goes, "Whoa, I want people dancing. Well, this, and I'm like, it's the first set. Nobody's had any alcohol in them yet. They're all just kind of chilling, hanging out, checking out the band." I said, by the second set that's full of dance, don't worry, this is for the top 40 thing. The second set's full of dance. I mean, we play this place all the time, so we know the crowd like the back of our hands. So I got to kind of talk them off the ledge a little bit, It's part of my job, I got to make everybody happy, but sometimes, you got to talk people out of making a mistake,
I hear you. So you're starting up this new rock and roll news aggregate website called History of Rock Report.
It's a music news aggregator is really what it is. We talked about politics before. We're not going to talk about politics, but you mentioned politics before. In the political world, there's a bunch of different news aggregators. Probably the most famous one being the Drudge Report, and there's another one, Bongino Report. There's a bunch of them.
Daily Wire, yeah.
Empire Report is one that's just solely for New York State. If you want to know if you live in New York and you care, there's one called the Empire Report. So there's a bunch of them that I subscribe to, and I said to myself one day, like, why don't they have one of this for music news? Because I love music news. My favorite thing on Facebook is when somebody posts something that's something that's going on. And it just immediately grabs my attention. Oh, Van Halen. Oh, Kiss, or Scorpions, or even if it's In Excess, any kind of band, what U2. Not the biggest U2 fan, but what's going on? I just want to read it. I can't help myself. So I'm kind of like a music news junkie just to begin with. I mean, I said to myself, well, this should just be one place to go and see all this stuff. Because I mean, you can post it on Facebook, which is great, but obviously it's a music news feed, so to speak. You're only going to get one article. How many articles can you get?
One article per post at this point.
So it's really hard to kind of get a sense. And there's tons of it. I mean, I don't know if you subscribe to, if you go to I'm just going to read them off the list, the ones that I have right now. Ultimate Classic Rock, Louder, Blabbermouth is a good one. Classic Rock History, you've all heard of Billboard, CMT News. I could go on and on. There's also stuff for hip hop, Hip Hop DX, all sorts of different music. So what my system does, when I'm not a musician, I'm a techie. I'm a VP of tech for a startup company in here on Long Island, and I wanted to learn a new type of scripting called Python. Python's a pretty popular language. I just never, I kind of more on the management side, but I do code, and I've coded too much. But I'm a big data junkie. I just love data. I love playing with data. So it's kind of a cross of my different, my interests. So I love music news, and I just said, you know what, I'm going to make the first music news aggregator. So I'm going to learn it using this Python scripting. And I've been coding for years, a very long time. So, I was able to pick it up pretty quick. And that's how this was created. So what the system does is literally every minute, and there's different types of way of getting the news information. Everything from what they call RSS feeds, or what they call scraping. There's a whole bunch of other things, that do. Basically, the system just goes out and looks for music news, and it figures out what's the latest article, and just copies it into the system. It's just simple, just basically a link to whatever that article is, and it can be everything from music news sites, artist websites. As well as, and eventually I'll have things like discussion forums and things like that. So all the system just goes out and just looks for music news, and then takes it and congregates it into a very easily digestible website. It's on Facebook, it's on Instagram, it's on Twitter. I think I'm on Truth Social. I'm on a bunch of them. But really, it's the website has a tremendous amount of sources on it, because when you're posting to Facebook, you can really only do, like you mentioned before, you can only kind of do one post at a time. So there's a couple of posts, I mean, usually at least one post a day. Sometimes there's a couple of posts a day. But literally, I'm looking at History of Rock Report right now, the website. Obviously, I'll provide you with the links for anyone listening. You go there, you'll just see there's tons of stories to go through. And it's easy. You can just click through what you want. And I have future releases where you can be able to categorize what you want. You'll be able to create your own logon and be able to customize what you're seeing. So like if you just like hard rock, it'll show you, it'll show you all those sites and all those artist websites and just put it in one place. I'm a Kiss fan. I used to, I get up, I go to Kiss Online, I go to kissasylum.com. I go to different Kiss boards on Facebook to see what's going on. But with the History of Rock Report, I can subscribe to a Kiss channel. I can see all the Kiss news that's being, that's going on in the world today. So it's actually pretty cool.
Very cool.
Made it for myself, and then I went, hey, maybe other people might like this. It's quite a difference from just doing it yourself as a hobby and then making something, real that people can actually use.
Are you looking to probably get advertisers for this site?
Well, I mean, I kind of see the development playing like this, where right now I'm just trying to establish the core site. I'm still working with, every source has its own little challenge to automate. And it just has to do with the way the data is presented on the website. And sometimes they change it, we want to get a new look and feel for our site. So then you have to then customize the feed to go figure out how to get that data, however it can, it needs to do it. So I'm still just kind of working through those challenges, automating all those. I have if you actually go to the site, I have 20 or 30 different sites right now on there right now. So I'm still just tweaking. I'm always adding one or two a week. So probably another couple of weeks, I'll, probably be up to the 40, 50 mark. And then the next step is really to kind of make it easy to categorize. So when you go to it, you can just kind of narrow down on what you're looking for quickly. So like, for example, I know you're a fan of hard rock metal. You'd probably want to see those first. Okay. So,
what a headline. 25
that?
years ago, Red Hot Chili Peppers fired Dave Navarro. I remember that.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember that too. So, I mean, this is again, the History of Rock Report. The name comes from the history of rock and roll. To be honest, I just needed a name. And okay, I got to think up a name in the next minute or two, and I'm going to register it with, name.com or GoDaddy so I can get the site built. And this is the name I could think up in 1 minute, so that's where the name comes from. Yeah, so at the top, obviously, this is going to be the headline. At some point, I also envision maybe having more than myself as an editor. So if there's any would-be editors out there, let me know. And right now, just, as an editor, I go in and I'll scour through the articles and figure out, okay, what do I want to post up here? So this is the headline. And then right here is the top, obviously it says top stories. These are from right now, there's up to 25 different feeds that I have that are coming into the system. These are the latest, greatest. So, and they come from all different sources. So if you can see at the bottom here, I'm hovering over it. This one's from Hip Hop DX. This is what it looks like. This is from Billboard over here. So you can see I'm highlighting YouTube unveils the biggest Coachella, and I'll go down and Leonardo DiCaprio. This is from Billboard. This article's Billboard. Yeah, it looks like this. It looks like we're going Billboard crazy. This one's from Blabbermouth. So as you can see, this is the latest, greatest. So the system literally goes out every minute and looks for, it picks a source from the library and goes out and says, okay, do you have any latest articles you want to share with me? If it does, it takes it, it categorizes it, and it closes that connection. So that's what you're seeing here on top stories. So this constantly updates. So I'm still tweaking some of the stuff. So if I had those feeds if the updates were enabled, you would see that this would automatically update. It literally happens every minute. Now, as you scroll on downwards, you're starting to see the individual sources that are online. So here's Ultimate Classic Rock, here's Louder, Blabbermouth, and if you just simply click on it and brings you right to the article, so you can read it. And again, if you're used to the political world where you have things like Drudge Report and Bongino Report and all those different Empire Report, it's the same thing. It's just a link to another website, but it's just it's an aggregator, so it puts it all in one place, so it's easy for you to click through. So there's classic rock history, Billboard. I could just go through and name it, but if I start to go down, you'll see here. This is hip hop, obviously hip hop. DX. I believe EDM is electronic music, and
Electronic dance music, yeah.
there's oldies, but all forgotten oldies, right? History of rock and roll. I got to keep that going.
Mhm.
You have these different featured artist articles, which is pretty cool. If you like country, Noise Creep, this is like a metal site. Eddie, we talked about Eddie Trunk. This is an example of a Harvard, just taking the articles directly from the artist, or in this case, Eddie Trunk's website. Here's Kiss Online. Go down further, you got Metallica, Van Halen News Desk.
Of course. Very cool.
And I'm constantly adding, every week I'm at least adding one or two, and sometimes the feed falls off because they changed
the coding.
They'll change the how they code it on their website. As I alluded to, at some point I'll probably underneath top stories is going to be a way to categorize all these other news sources. So if you wanted metal, there'll be like a metal button category button you can click. It'll just show you the metal ones. If you want to know, hip hop or whatever, if you want country, you'll be able to click it and it'll just show you those. So that's
Very
probably
cool.
the next hurrah is the sorting. At some point, we'll have logons so you can actually customize the content. I alluded to a thing which I call channels, which is I only have access to it right now because I'm still developing it. So I have a KISS channel, for example, and what the KISS channel does, out of all the sources that are on the History of Rock report, it scours it and says, okay, is this anything to do with KISS? Yes, okay, and it actually categorizes that. So I'll be able to come in here and view my KISS channel. And I'll be able to see all the articles on KISS where they come from: Ultimate Classic Rock, Blabbermouth, Billboard, or even obviously KISS Online. Now that would be a default.
And this is at historyofrockreport.com.
Historyofrockreport.com. And it's going to get better and better. But again, it's really just I'm trying to appeal to the music lovers like myself, just trying to get people who have the same interest in me. And, hey, here's this site. If you like music news like I do, I mean, I'm on this every day. Look, I've learned a lot more about Metallica, even like you too. I've learned more about them than I probably even wanted to.
Yeah, I don't know that many people that want to know about U2 at this point anymore, but that's, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I remember the Joshua Tree. That's a big album. I always liked Bullet the Blue Sky. I always thought that was a great song. I thought Vertigo was a great song when that came out.
Yeah, I actually do love that album because that there's a couple of songs on there that resonate with me. I'll admit U2 has some good songs, but I don't think they're the best band to come out of Ireland. I give that to Thin Lizzy personally.
There you go. That's the History of Rock report. I'll send you the link if you need it. But that's my little hobby. I love it. And I hope other people like it too, and maybe go there. If they could bookmark it and go there once a day, that would be absolutely amazing.
Very cool. And I'll make sure to include a link for History of Rock Report on my link tree. And once it comes back up again, my website. I definitely would like to be a backlink for you to try to get you more hits.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Again, just trying to get the word out there. I'm glad I think I approached you about in maybe January about doing this, but I'm glad we waited this way because it's a much better site. It's a much better site than it was, even like 1 month or two ago.
Yeah, I apologize for that. I was just so knee deep in trying to get everything sorted out with Severed Angel, but we got everything worked out. We recorded the album in our homes, so it's not like we're hurting for money, but I'm still living in the same house that I was when I started this podcast. The only difference is I now have soundproofing on my walls.
There you go.
Listen,
it was a great thing just to be able to execute that and make it happen. It's a tremendous amount of work. I mean,
it is, but what you're doing is immense because, you bring joy to people when they come see you guys play. I've seen video footage. I've seen people, having a good time dancing, especially after the events of the last 3 years. We're not going to say what it is, but what it is.
Yeah.
It's good to see people going out, dancing, socializing again, just, having a good time. And, and I always say music is the great uniter because, it does not matter what walk of life you come from. A good song brings a smile to everyone's face who loves it. And, and I think that's what people forget, I mean, the artistry, of course it's there in the artist who writes it, but, respect also needs to be given to the people who play it. Cause, it's, as far as I'm concerned, we may not be able to experience some of the classic artists, like let's say a Tommy James for too long. And guys like you with history of rock and roll, that's what keeps it alive, not just for the generations of people who love that music, but for people who are discovering it now.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because actually when we played last night, there were people of all ages there. It's amazing. Like, we're doing some like an Elvis song, or Why Do Fools Fall in Love, which is Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers. And we're playing it, and it's amazing. Just certain songs just resonate. Like, we didn't play it last night, but typically we do Shout in History of Rock. We also do it in Coverland all the time. It's amazing. You can still play that song to this day, and people still go crazy. That song's from 1959, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Certain things are just timeless and they live forever.
I could just do without playing Mustang Sally for the rest of my life.
I haven't played that one in a while, but yeah, no, that's cool.
But
that's a great song.
It is, but I went through a period where I was playing it every show for 3 years straight. Like, I was always trying to get that out of the set list, but no, it never happened. But whatever.
I got you beat. We end every History of Rock and Roll show, as well as every Coverland show, with Rock and Roll All Night by Kiss. Pretty much. I would say 99.9% of the time, that's the last song we always do. We have a big thing we do it at the end. By the way, I will say that Coverland, I think we are the only band that sneaks a Rush song into a top 40 cover set list.
Which one?
We do the Spirit of the Radio. We have a little snippet we do when we finish the set in Coverland. We actually have this. We create this like little jam of like, it's about a maybe minute and a half last, and we just run through a bunch of songs. Like, for example, one's Back in Black, into Running with the Devil, into Spirit of the Radio, and it's great.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. So we are the only band that pulls that off. At least the only band that I know. And we got a couple other ones to do. Each set we end with that. And you always tell, you get the one Rush fan that go, you played Rush, hey, that was great. And we're just thrilled that we could get it in there, and make it work for everybody.
God, there is no drummer better than Neil Peart.
So my wife and I, we were on holiday in Mystic, Connecticut, and we took a ride up to Mohegan Sun. We actually tried to get tickets. Who was playing that night? Motley Crue and Poison at the Mohegan Sun Arena.
Oh, wow.
But, tickets were sold out. So we went to the Wolf's Den, and there was a country artist there. I remember at the time, Perry Richardson, formerly of Firehouse, currently of Stryper, was his bassist.
Oh, wow.
And he introduced the drummer. And what happens is every time he introduced the member, like they do like a little solo of something, he introduces the drummer. All of a sudden I'm hearing da 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 da, and they're playing Tom Sawyer. I'm like, a country band playing Rush?
There you go. Hey, just got to find your ways to put it in there so, it's accessible. So you can put a little, hey, you have a passion for there's certain Rush music that I just absolutely love. And I remember, and that's a great thing about Coverland. I asked Con, I asked Chris, and I'm like, you guys, you want to try something like that? Like, yeah, let's give it a shot. And it worked. So, thank God we found our way to get it in there.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely want to come check you guys out. I have not seen you play, I think, since that time we got on stage together and did On Fire. And I apologize for that. It's just, I was a working musician too. And you know how it is. It's like, you want to support your friends. Yeah. But, you've come and supported me in the past, and I thank you for that. And I'm really happy to have you here to discuss historyofrock.com. Anytime you want to come back, you're more than welcome to. So
I appreciate that.
Where else can people find you?
The big announcement here is the historyofrockreport.com. I'll get you that URL. Coverlandband.com. That's the other biggie. And obviously historyofrnr.com. So those are pretty much the. Have I thrown enough websites at you? And
no, not at all. It's fine.
They're all on Facebook, and they're all on Instagram, and all the things. I would say History of Rock Report. look us up on Facebook, Instagram, whatever your poison is, we're on there. Definitely try to hit the website because that's where all the detail is. If you really love music news, obviously it's my site, so I go there every day, but I'm always going there. And sometimes I'm supposed to be playing the role of editor. And I'm supposed to be clicking on the article, figure out what article I want to be the featured article. And then 15 minutes has gone by because I'm sitting there reading all this stuff. I'm like, oh, this is great. So it's really cool. But a Coverland band that has all that. We have a lot of private parties and weddings, but we definitely have some public spots.
Plug away if you have any coming up.
We are, we are a private party machine. Thank God. I mean, we're just so fortunate that people like us. They hire us to do private events. But the first public event we actually have is not until Thursday, June 8th at Catch. So we got Thursday, June 8th at Catch, Friday, June 9th at the Sandbar in Ocean Beach. That's going to be a great time. Then we're back at Catch on June 16th, and then we got Claudio's on Sunday, June 18th. And I won't bore your audience by reading every date on my website because I'll be here for a while.
Well, Claudio's in Greenport is a place that we'd love to. Is that an afternoon or a nighttime show?
The Claudio's, we always play Claudio's in the afternoon.
All right, so I'll definitely make sure I drag my wife and daughter to come check that out because my wife and I definitely want to come see you play again. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. And Greenport is like one of our favorite spots. Plus, I get to go to Greenport Fire and pick up some awesome hot sauce there.
There you go.
Plug.
There you go. And then Ministry of Rock, just real quick, the local ones, we're playing in Babylon, right by Argyle Park on Friday, June 30th. And then we got a big show at the Smith Haven Mall on Wednesday, July 12th. Everything else is a private. And Catch on a Friday, August 4th. But everything else is either a private event or just not in the area. A
working musician and a working news aggregator leader. That's awesome. And of course, a devoted family man, which I respect, and a hell of a bassist. So
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate this.
Thank you, John. Cheers to you.
You have a great night.
Thanks. If you want to know more about the Music is Live podcast, check us out on our link tree, Music is Live podcast. Also check out our parent network, Rat Style Review, over at ratstylereview.com. If you want to check out more about my band, Severed Angel, you can go to our link tree, which is Severed Angel. John Pinna, thanks again for coming on Music is Live podcast.
Thank you.
And remember, everyone, all art is valid. And I'm back, bitches. Cheers.
Bye.